We all know Bill Gates as the man behind Microsoft, and today this is the #1 software in the entire world. With a net worth of billions of dollars, he's made so much money from his company that he eventually took the position of the richest person in the world in 1995. But here's one fact that many people are not aware of. Bill never built the first operating system for IBM, but instead bought the licensing rights. Through his passion for computers, he built on that and grew Microsoft into what it is today. So how did a man who dropped out of Harvard turn out to become the richest man in the world for 18 years? What are the biggest secrets of the current 4th richest person in the world? This is the Bill Gates story. How it all began. This American investor, programmer, philanthropist, and entrepreneur was born in Seattle in 1955 to the Gates family. With his sisters, an older and younger one, Bill would organize games with his family, especially Monopoly. It's no surprise that he was a fan of board games as a child. In fact, Bill was so in love with books that he would spend hours glued to encyclopedias, which anyone in that age would find boring. As young as 8, Bill took up the challenge by his church to memorize 3 chapters of the Bible. As you can expect, he did this word for word, successfully memorizing 2,000 words at such a young age. However, by the time he turned 12, his parents were worried that he did not do so well in school, but was withdrawn most of the time. To avoid him turning into a loner, they decided it was time to have him enrolled into an exclusive preparatory school. Sending him to Lakeside turned out to be the perfect move as Bill began to perform excellently in most all of his subjects, including English, drama, math, and science. But when he started at Lakeside School at 13, he discovered his very first love, programming. Luckily, the Seattle branch of Computer Center Corporation made the school one of the first to receive public computers that could be used by the students. Bill was in love with those computers and began to spend a huge chunk of time in the computer labs instead of classes. In there, he worked on a terminal, which was quite surprising for a boy of his age at that time. So it's not surprising that a short while later, Bill successfully built his first computer program on the General Electric machine, a game of tic-tac-toe. Users could play this game against the computer, and you could credit this to a 14-year-old boy genius. Remember Paul Allen, who became Bill Gates' partner at Microsoft? Well, this is where they first met as well. Although Paul was 2 years older, they both had a common passion and bonded over this very fast. From being afraid that Bill would become a loner, the young boy became quite aggressive instead, in contrast to Paul's more reserved personality. It wasn't rare to see the young boys disagree over who would be in charge of the computer lab. At one point, it got so bad that Paul banned Bill from using the computer lab. While you may not consider this such a big punishment, imagine getting banned from ever using a smartphone. Horrifying, isn't it? It's exactly how Bill took it, but then again, Paul was such a goody two-shoes after all. Eventually, both Bill and Paul had their computer privileges revoked after running a little scam. No, they weren't criminals, just teenagers who didn't know the meaning of limits. So Bill hacked into his schedule to get him placed in more classes with girls. Anything for the ladies, right? Imagine being a hacker even before hitting puberty. Without access to their beloved computers, Bill and Paul were going crazy and had to think up something fast. Eventually, they offered to develop a payroll program for the computer company and were once again reunited. A few years later, the young men started a business together. They built a program to monitor traffic data in Seattle, and this little project brought in a cool $20,000. This was a good start for 2 computer enthusiasts who were not even 18 yet. Bill was ready to continue being in business with Paul, but his parents had other plans. They wanted him to go to college and become a lawyer. So Bill finished from Lakeside School as a National Merit Scholar and had an impressive score of 1590 out of 1600 on his SATs. Sounds unbelievable, but he did it. He was quite proud of his intellectual feat and would bring it up often when introducing himself. Really, who wouldn't be? Especially with social media right now where we announce pretty much everything. Bill got into Harvard University but wasn't so invested in his path towards becoming a lawyer. Instead, he spent a huge chunk of his time in, you guessed it, the computer lab. He read just enough to pass his classes but invested a lot of his energy on the screens. He had bigger plans than practicing law. Bill wanted to be a millionaire before he turned 30. Creating Microsoft. So what about his best bud, Paul Allen? Well, the two still kept in contact and Paul had already dropped out of Washington State. Bill would later follow in his footsteps and drop out of Harvard, much to the horror of his parents. But then they worked together on the Altair 8800 mini computer, which they believed was the future of computing. They also saw the release of MIT's Altair 8800 based on Intel's 8080 CPU as an opportunity to finally start up their own company. Paul and Bill pitched the idea of a basic interpreter for the platform, and within 2 months of sleepless nights at Harvard's computer lab, they were demonstrating this to the MIT's president. It was a massive success as they both got hired by MITs. Bill Gates dropped out of Harvard and altogether they started Microsoft in 1975. All they had were big dreams and little funding, but it was more than enough. This company later made a deal to become the exclusive licensing agent for 86DOS, owned by SCP. Later, it was adapted for PC and eventually sold to IBM for $50,000. This massive transaction shot Microsoft to the top of the tech industry, and from that moment, there was nowhere left to go but up. Bill became the president and chairman of the board in 1981. And what about his dream of becoming a millionaire before 30? Well, he got his wish. But that was when Microsoft grossed about $2.5 million when he was 31. Still a pretty decent deal, if we're being honest. Today, they have a huge line of both software and hardware products, including the ever-popular Microsoft Office suites, Windows OS, and the Xbox. There's no doubt that Microsoft is the #1 software company in the world, with Windows software being used by millions of businesses globally. Beyond Microsoft. Bill's life doesn't start and end with Microsoft. The man is a huge philanthropist and has been actively at the forefront of several projects ever since he founded the William H. Gates Foundation in 1994. It took the sale of his Microsoft shares and inspiration from top minds like John Rockefeller and Andrew Carnegie to make this happen. Just 6 years later, he merged into the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which has assets worth more than $30 billion and is actively making impacts in several countries around the world. They have definitely made a lot of impact with charitable donations. Today, Bill Gates is the 4th richest person in the world with a net worth of about $137 billion. However, he's no longer CEO of Microsoft and is more content with taking on a role as a technology advisor. Well, it's not too bad after all, and the money still keeps rolling in. Still, this gives him more than enough time to focus on his philanthropy and take up some other hobbies. Do you think Bill Gates has had the chance to do some programming in the last few months? This is the story of a man who was too good for Harvard and took the path of tech instead of becoming the lawyer his parents wanted him to. But we bet everyone is happy about how this turned out. Now you know all about the life of Bill Gates. One of the greatest lessons from his success story is that it's okay to follow your passion and build your life around it. And that's a wrap. We would like to know what you would do if you were worth $1 billion. Let us know in the comments. Did you like this video? Well, we're always posting amazing content like this, so don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out. Thanks for watching.